Welcome into another episode of Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. I'm Kyle Glaser alongside Heath Bell. The Padres are 15-4, continuing to have the best record in Major League Baseball after taking 2 of 3 from the Cubs in a midweek series. Now they head out to start off a 6-game road trip against the Astros and the Tigers. Heath, we've talked about it all season that for the Padres to just keep it going, just keep winning series. They were never going to go undefeated at home over a full season. We saw them drop their first home game against the Cubs in a 10-inning nail-biter on Tuesday, bounce back on Wednesday to win the rubber match 4-2, win the series, go into the road trip with some momentum. The Padres just keep doing everything right. When they have a loss, they bounce back right away. They have a bad inning, they bounce back right away. Starter has a bad outing, they bounce back. This team just continues to impress in so many different ways. What were your biggest takeaways from this series against the Cubs, who, just to be frank, are the best team the Padres have played thus far this season?
Yeah, the Cubs are definitely a really good team. What the Padres have done, Manny Machado is starting to become Manny Machado that we all knew, and MVP Machado. I mean, that 9-10 pitch at bat that he ends up hitting a home run, so they're up by 1. Was huge. And I mean, there was 2 foul balls that the Cubs dropped. So, I mean, the Padres are playing good fundamental baseball. They're doing the little things. Yeah, it kind of sucks that they lose here and there, but they're winning way more than they're losing. But here's what the great thing is about everybody was talking about the Dodgers this offseason. Everybody's talking about how the Diamondbacks are going to come back. The Giants got better. Oh yeah, and then the Padres are pretty decent, this and that, but the great thing about it is they're out there playing as a team, and the great thing about it is they're going out there, and we're always not looking for Manny Machado to do it. We're not looking for Tatis to do it, even though they're having incredible starts. Jack Samaro had an incredible start and then went to Chicago and apparently didn't warm up good enough because it was freaking cold out there and pulled a hammy. So, he'll be out a couple more, games or probably another week or two. But, all the guys are picking it up. Bogarts, I feel like wants a comeback season. Show him that, look, he's a legit shortstop and he can hit and get on base. I feel like Coneworth is kind of the same boat. Like, hey, I kind of struggle a little bit, finished good, but let's just, bear it down. Sheets is kind of like showing everybody, hey, I'm a lot better than what the White Sox were back in the day. So then you got the starting pitchers that are just doing great things. And I feel like the only time that they kind of struggled, it was in Chicago, maybe a little bit in Oakland or Sacramento. Ball was up a little bit in the zone, but if you watched it, because this is how I watch baseball, and I was actually watching with my neighbor, I'm like, look where the catcher sets up and where he wants. And it was funny because we were watching the Rocky series, and I know the Padres kind of just dominated, but this is the point to it. The catcher, I mean, fans, if you're watching this, so the catcher literally was up in the zone like this. Say, this is the box, my little question. His catcher is putting his glove up here. This is down by the knees. This is up by the thighs. Even though sometimes the pitcher's throwing down here, he's setting up here. And I go watch on the Padres side, all of a sudden the catchers are setting up down here. So, and I go, it does help the pitcher when you show a target down in the zone, this and that. And occasionally you want up in the zone, but literally it was always up in the zone. And the Padres lately, and basically maybe it was cold weather or whatnot in Chicago, they've been down in the zone and up in the zone when they need to be. And I feel like that's a great example of why you're winning. You play good fundamental baseball. You know you can hit. Yeah, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to make some errors. We're going to give up some runs. But you have that confidence when you're playing as a team. Your pitch goes out there, gives up a few runs. It's like, okay, I just got to bear down. I got to get some zeros on the board because my guys will come back. And that's the key. And everybody's rooting for everybody. Everybody's pulling for everybody. And that makes a great team. And that's what you're seeing in San Diego right now is a great team, fundamental baseball.
No question. And I want to definitely drill down more on the pitching because they were absolutely fantastic during this homestand. But I want to go back to the point you made about Manny Machado and that the Padres stars are playing like stars, and they're also getting support from the bottom of the lineup. You mentioned guys like Gavin Sheets, Tyler Wade yesterday, 2 hits, 2 walks, just reaching base 4 times in your first game after coming up, your first start, I should say, or second start, I should say, while taking over center field. Just a really, really nice performance from him as well at the bottom of the lineup. But going back to Manny Machado, during that Monday opener, to help fuel the Padres' furious rally. That was an amazing electrifying comeback. He got that started by working an 11-pitch walk. Again, doing the little things as well as the big things. Then you talk about the Tuesday out game. Again, Cubs drop 2 foul balls. He keeps getting more chances. Boom, comes up, hits a game-tying home run to cap off another double-digit pitch at bat. And then yesterday as well, comes through with the RBI single, 2 outs on a full count to give the Padres the lead, adds a key RBI double later in the game that proves to be, pretty critical as well. So again, we talked about Fernando Tatis Jr. at the top. We've talked about Gavin Sheets, but I think it's important to give Manny Machado credit as well. This is the guy that is the leader of the Padres clubhouse, and in so many ways is their leader on the field in the sense that when he is going, he can carry the team on his back and frequently does. Not to mention what he's done defensively. And again, errors happen. He made one error during the Cubs series, but he also had a great play coming in, bare hand charging in. And on the whole, he's continued to be his great defensive self. I do think we need to give Manny Machado a lot of credit for the Padres start, what he's done individually, as well as the example he's setting. Again, Manny Machado is someone who has not always hustled. He's been hustling really since day one this year, and the entire team is following.
Yeah, definitely. I will definitely say a couple podcasts ago or a couple weeks ago, I was saying, hey, early on in the opening series, how he didn't really hustle, and then all of a sudden he did, maybe because Jackson Merrill's so happy and just sprinting, going everywhere. But Manny is the guy that everybody knows. Manny Machado, back in Baltimore early on when he was hustling and becoming a future star. This is what you saw back then. And it's great. I mean, maybe he's 100% healthy in the last year or so. He wasn't healthy, and maybe that's why he didn't see it. But for whatever reason, this is the reason why the Padres got Manny Machado, and he's helping the team win. And, he's also, I guarantee he's in the clubhouse doing other stuff, having a good time, keeping everybody loose, even with a couple injuries here and there. So it's really fun to watch. And, it's really, for me, it's kind of like I'm really jealous watching the game. Like, shit, I really want to pitch because this is an offense I'd love to have. I mean, when I was there, we had the worst offense in the American or the National League.
But we have a good one in 07. I will give that group credit, the 07 team. But yes, after that, it was pretty rough.
Well, the 07 team, I remember that team. I mean, yeah, we were better hitting wise, but I mean, we led the league in, I think it was 19 or 20 games where we win with 3 or less hits. So the pitching was good, but we won that many games because it was like we literally got hits. I mean, I remember, I think that year we got no hit twice, and we still were, kicking butt. And it was like nobody even knew we didn't get a hit because we were notorious for winning games with 4 or 5 hits. But then we'd have one game that we'd go off. So it was just, it was interesting. But this San Diego Padre team is definitely what Peter Seidler, rest in peace, was really wanting the team to do. We've had great Padre teams in the last couple of years, but this is turning out to be, if they just keep staying the course, we get Jackson back, start doing well. Hayward isn't hitting the ball well, but he's getting on base occasionally here and there, and he's still kind of a threat. So, and I feel like he's going to turn it around a little bit. So I just feel like everything's kind of clicking, and we don't even have our young new star, Jackson Merrill there. So, but, you got to give, a round of a clap to Machado for doing that. And then Tatis apparently he's not as hurt as much as I thought he was with his shoulder.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's great to see too. So, and then, Bogarts, like I said, he's my comeback player of the year. He's playing short, he's playing good, solid baseball, and he's hitting the ball. And I know some of my friends have said, well, what about his power? It's not there. I'm like, who cares? Get on base, play defense. Home run's going to show up. He's not the 30 home run guy. He's 15 to 20 home runs. So if he hits 10 to 20, I'm perfectly fine with that. As long as he's hitting around 280, maybe 300, it'd be great.
Yeah, and again, this Padres pitching staff has led the way, as we'll get into, but it's important to give the offense credit too. Padres right now, second in the majors in average. They're top 5 in OPS, top 10 in runs scored. This has been a top 10 offense, really by any measure. And Heath, we talked so much about the little things leading to the big things. And I actually thought that yesterday's game against the Cubs, the series finale, there was a moment that was really emblematic of the Padres, how they're winning ball games. And it came in the 3rd inning. Top of the 3rd inning, Cubs load the bases with no outs. Kyle Tucker coming to the plate. That's a very, very precarious situation. Nick Pivetta makes his pitch, gets Kyle Tucker to flat for a sac fly. then get Seiya Suzuki to ground into an inning-ending double play. So bases loaded, no outs, you hold them to 1 run. They hold the line. They limit damage. This team does that very, very well. Bottom of the inning, the Padres respond right away, which you've seen them do a lot this year. But it was how they responded. So bottom of the order, Elias Diaz falls behind 0-2 in the count, works a walk. So comes back from 0-2 in the count, works a walk to get on base. Fernando Tatis comes up after, Tyler Wade comes up after that and hits a single. And Elias Diaz went first to third. This is a big-bodied catcher who is not fast at all. Single to right field, and he didn't hesitate. Goes first to third. Right after that, Fernando Tatis Jr., infield single to second base, Diaz scores. If Diaz doesn't go first to third, if he's on second, Padres don't score the tying run there. And of course, after that, Manny Machado, RBI single. Again, full count, 2 outs, 2 strikes, comes through. Padres lead 2-1. But seeing again, it starts with a leadoff walk and then a single going first to third and then an infield single. And that's how they tie the game. Again, keep putting the ball in play, keep being aggressive on the base pass. And seeing Elias Diaz go first to third, I think was just emblematic of, again, that's the expectation for this team and how aggressive they're going to be. It's not a case of, oh yeah, Tatis will do it, but some of our slower guys will hold him up. No, the expectation is if that ball's in the outfield, you are going first to third. We've seen them go first to third on singles to left field. A lot of teams won't do that. This team is going to be aggressive 1-9 to a man, and it's going to put them in position to do well. As I've said again and again and again, if you keep taking extra bases, you keep taking extra outs, getting extra outs, that eventually is going to add up to extra runs. And we saw that, really that third inning, just again, infield single, leadoff walk, first to third on a single, infield single to tie the game. That's what the Padres have been doing. And then again, even to take the lead, single through the left side, refusing to strike out, full count with 2 outs. Just good, fundamental, sound baseball and approaches in the box and on the base pass, and it's leading to a lot of success.
So as a pitcher, if you're on the mound, and I love how the Padres are very aggressive, but when you're on the mound and the team you're facing is always being aggressive, and even though, let's say your guys are throwing them out to third, first to third and gets thrown out, it's almost like a sense of relief. It's like, man, these guys keep going. Hopefully my defense will come up big, this and that. But take it, Nick pitched really well. He got in a little trouble in the third, but he didn't make a big inning out of it. If you're into trouble, let the team score 1 run, minimize the cost. And then your team goes out there and hustles. And even if he got thrown out at third, it would show Nick, dude, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. We're not going to stop. We're pushing on the gas. We're stepping on the pedal. We're going to keep going. We're going to score you runs. It's not just we're waiting for a home run. We're waiting for, like 2 doubles in a row or something like that. So as a pitching staff, when it's on your team and you're sitting in the dugout or the bullpen and guys are just running, you feel excited. You feel like, man, okay, it's not, you always want to be on your A game. But if you make a mistake and give up a run, you feel like the guys will come back. And I'm telling you, on the other side, when you had teams go, like when I played, the Marlins always ran back in the day because they didn't really have much pitchers and they just ran. It was like, okay, I got to be on my game. I got to watch this. I got to do this. I got to do that. Hopefully my defense doesn't make errors because, if somebody slips up or they're playing a little bit farther back, then you're thinking differently how to pitch and this and that. So that's why, just how the Padres are being really aggressive on the base path. I think it's affecting the opposing pitchers and it's also affecting the Padre pitchers because you have that confidence. We're not waiting for that big home run. We're not waiting for one guy to do it. It's the little guys can do it, or I guess the short pudgy guys, on the team, you can say. But like it's big going from first to third and scoring from second. Even if it's going to be a close play, if you run – especially in spring training where they teach you the angles, not to go really wide. And, at first base, don't run straight to second, start curving so you can go from straight to second to third. I mean, back in the day, pitchers got to hit. We did a lot of running because we were supposed to run because we're pitchers. So we did a lot of base running. Even though we never really got on base, we had to do it because it was like time consuming. But they really teach you how to get the perfect angles. So if you're not fast, you can look faster than you are because of those little angles and stuff like that. It's like, hitting a ball and the bigger guy kind of gets 2. It should have been a single because the outfielder wasn't paying attention. Well, he didn't really round, hit first base and go way to the right field and then cut over to second. He kind of rounded it and got more of a straight line. So And I always take it like this, us bigger guys that don't run as fast, we don't need to make those bigger curves. Make a little short curve because we're not going as fast, so we can get little steps in there. So anyway, but it's really exciting to see how the Padres are aggressive.
Yeah, no question. It reminds me a lot. I remember when back in 2002, this team reminds me a little bit of the 2002 Angels. They were just constantly in motion, constantly on the move. And I remember after the Angels beat the Yankees in the ALDS that year, Derek Jeter later said that playing the Angels was exhausting on defense. It was exhausting playing them. And you see that with this Padres team, just constantly, again, it's first to thirds, it's, contact plays. I go back to the Guardians series where infield in, chopper to second, most teams, the runner on third holds. Tatis and the Padres said, nope, we're going, slid in under the throw. Just, they're going to be aggressive. They're going to go. They're going to
We've already stolen home, steal second, steal home. And
double steal, yeah.
Literally anytime anybody's on third base and somebody's on first base, I'm like, are we going to do it again?
No, it's a very, very aggressive team. And again, they wear the opponent down. They're continuing to do it. We saw it yesterday, and, it pays dividends. All right, Heath, we've talked a lot about this offense, but we have to talk about this pitching staff, which has been absolutely exceptional. We're going to take a quick break, hear a word from our sponsors, then we'll jump right into that.
Podfather, I want to pull a very expensive card out of a pack. Very difficult to do and very expensive. I can't pay for it, okay? How could I acquire that card?
Simple. Instead of driving somewhere, you go on Arena Club, go get you a slab pack, and you'll have some of the best cards you're ever going to see. Some one-of-ones, some cards that you want to have and you can't get out of your home. Go right online, check out Arena Club.
Yeah, I cannot recommend it enough. And every time you rip a slab pack, Arena Club will make you an instant offer for your card based on its market value. That's right. No guessing, no waiting. Instant offer for the estimated fair market value. You can accept it on the spot. You can use that cash for another slab pack, or you can buy, sell, trade. This platform has it all for the collectors out there. And right now, you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/foul and use code FOUL. That's arenaclub.com/foul, code FOUL for 20% off your first purchase.
All right, welcome back to Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. All right, Heath, we spent the first half of the show talking about Manny Machado and the impact he's made, talking about the Padres offense, how they're doing the little things that leads to the big things. But at the end of the day, it has been this pitching staff that has set the tone pretty much every game out at home, and certainly on the road they had some struggles. But I want to go back to what they did this last homestand, and particularly the starters, because we talked a lot about the bullpen and how good it's been, and we will once again. But over this past 6-game homestand, Padres starters had a 0.93 ERA. To a man, they excelled. And I think it's especially notable given how they had struggled their last turn through. So back during the road trip, when you talk about the first 3 games of the series against the Cubs in Chicago and the first 2 games against the A's, Padres starters were averaging under 4 innings a start and had an ERA of 11.0. Randy Vasquez came out, pitched well in the series finale against the A's, but then coming home, the Padres shut out the Rockies entirely over a weekend. And the Cubs entered this series as the highest scoring team in baseball by a wide margin. They had 116 runs coming into this series. No other team had scored even 100 runs. This was an explosive offense firing on all cylinders. Padres came in and held them to 8 runs over 3 games. And the starters were at the forefront of that. Again, a 0.93 ERA by the starters on this homestand. You just can't say enough about how utterly dominant they were to a man.
Well, you just have to understand, for some reason, maybe it's San Diego, the pitchers. See, here's the thing. When we were on the road trip, you can look at how many our starting pitchers walked. We were probably averaging, I think, 3 walks plus.
It was close to a walk an inning. It was rough. 17 walks in 18 innings.
And it just was, guys are just walking one guy, going 6-7 innings. I know Vasquez walked 2 in 5 or 6 innings, but it's just one of those things that we're not giving free bases. And the Cubs have been getting free bases when they play other people, and because they make good accounts or good at bats and whatnot. So, but here's the thing is Padres pitching, it's the age-old thing that I've been talking about. 3 or less pitches to every batter. You can't ever walk anybody. Worst case, you're going to give up a hit, but you'll get the next guy out. You get him roll over. You pound the zone. You throw strike one, and that's what the Padres are doing. You don't fall behind. And honestly, I feel like Nick walked a guy and Vasquez walked a guy in a situation that you had some runners on. You kind of fell behind. I'm not going to give in to this guy, so I'll put him on base because I have a free base over here. And I kind of feel like as a pitcher, sometimes you don't want to walk guys, but sometimes there's situations. You got a guy on second, a good hitter. You have one out. You nibble on the corner, and then he doesn't go after it. So you're like, okay, well, I'm going to nibble on the corner because I feel like I can get the next batter out. That happened a lot of times when guys face Barry Bonds because, Ryan Klesko was like right behind him. Not saying Ryan Klesko wasn't good, but he ain't no Barry Bonds. But it was point like, okay, if I lose Barry and put him on, I can get Ryan Klesko right there. No problem. And so it's just one of those things when you don't have a whole lot of protection. And I know the Cubs have been doing really well, but the pitching always beats hitting if you get ahead in the count. You throw strike one. You don't throw ball one, ball two, and then try to get them out because the hitter's more aggressive, this and that. The hitter will be on defense if you're just pounding the zone, and that's what the Padres have done. And look at other teams and their starters. Are they going on an average? I think it's 6 innings, 5-6 innings. Nowadays, it seems like 4 or 5 is a starting pitching. When we had trouble the last couple of years, the Padres, their starting pitching, even when we had Snell, he would go 5 innings, maybe 4 innings, strike 10 out. But it was like, oh my gosh, is he going to get to the 5th? He's going to get to the 6th inning. The old way of pitching is the starter always goes 5. If he throws 6, he's doing really well. If he helps the team out, he's throwing 7 or 8 innings. And we've already had a complete game one time, for the Padres. So there's huge things for any young kid that's listening or every coach that's listening. Strike, strike, strike. 3 or less pitches to every batter. Strike 1, strike 2. Puts the hitters on defense. And then, the pitchers are on top. I mean, I like to say there's more to that, but really it's not. It's throwing strikes and staying ahead and not walking people. That's really all it counts. You don't have to strike everybody out. Just don't walk people.
No free bases. That's the mantra at every level of baseball. Whether you're talking about pitching, defense, you can't give up free bases. And you mentioned the Padres being so good at throwing strikes. And this last time through the rotation on this homestand, we saw it to a man. Nick Pivetta in the opener against the Rockies, 7 innings, 1 walk. Kyle Hart, 6 innings, 0 walks. Michael King during his complete game 2-hit shutout, 9 innings, 1 walk. Dylan Cease, 5 2/3, gave up some hits, but again, 1 walk. Randy Vasquez, 5 innings, 2 walks. Nick Pivetta, his second turn through against the Cubs, 6 innings, 1 walk. So it's 0, 1, and 2 walks every start out. Padres starters over this homestand through 38 2/3 innings, 6 walks. Like you said, they made them earn their way on. No free bases, and they worked ahead in counts. And I want to go back to, that 3rd inning we talked about with Nick Pivetta. Bases loaded, no outs, Kyle Tucker. He got ahead 0-1. That completely changes the dynamic of the at-bat. If he falls behind Kyle Tucker there, everything changes. And so I think for the Padres, we're seeing them pitch well and pitch efficiently. Again, I covered the game against the Rockies with Nick Pivetta where he was super efficient. It was 70, 80 some odd pitches through 7 innings. Michael King was only at 90 some odd pitches going into the 9th inning of his complete game. So the Padres are pounding the strike zone with everything. Again, fastballs, curveballs, saw with Pivetta yesterday, Michael King with his changeup. Everything is working. And again, if you have good stuff and you pound the strike zone and you're aggressive going after hitters, really good things are going to happen. And the Padres rotation did that to a man this last homestand.
And I will tell you this, you don't have to have the best stuff. If you're pounding the zone and you're throwing strikes, as long as it's down in the zone, you don't need your best stuff. And I can see it with the Padres. And your best stuff turns into even better stuff, or your average stuff turns into better stuff if you're always throwing strike 1, strike 2. And right there, and you're down in the zone, the hitters are just like, okay, geez, I'm behind in the count again. And then your stuff gets even better. And I feel like, you get stronger, you get more confident. Then by the 4th, 5th, 6th inning, hey, that nasty stuff shows up. So, I'm a big believer in you don't always have your best stuff, but 80% of the time you have your average stuff. But if you're down in the zone, you're pounding the strike zone, that average stuff looks like best stuff. It really does, because hitters are just like dumbfounded.
No question. And as a whole this year, the Padres have a 1.30 ERA at Petco Park. They've been absolutely dominant at home. And we talked about this starting rotation, how good they were this last turn. The bullpen has been exceptional throughout. And we talk about the Padres having so many wins. They've won 5 games in which they were tied or trailing in the 7th inning or later. And a big part of that is the starting pitchers limit damage, and the bullpen comes in and holds the line. They shut it down. And that's been particularly true when it comes to their 4 best relievers, the guys that when everyone's rested and healthy, these are the guys who are going to close out the game for you. Robert Suarez, of course, the closer, Jason Adam, Jeremiah Estrada, Adrian Morjon, and Heath. You were part of some truly, truly incredible bullpens with you and Trevor Hoffman leading the way. This Padres bullpen, what they're doing so far, has been nothing short of exceptional. So Suarez, Adam, Estrada, and Morjon, the Padres' big 4 in the bullpen, so far this year, have thrown a combined 39 innings. They've allowed 3 earned runs. Think about that. 3 earned runs in 39 innings between the 4 of them. When they come in, an opponent knows they're not scoring. The game's pretty much over. I mean, the full line, it's 39 innings, 16 hits, 3 runs, 13 walks, 46 strikeouts. Getting on base against these guys is close to impossible, it feels like at times. This bullpen has been so exceptional all the way through. Robert Suarez is perfect in save opportunities. What are you seeing from this unit, the main 4 in particular, and just how special is what they're doing?
Well, what I see, I mean, it's the simplest thing. They're coming in, throwing strikes. They're being very aggressive every time they come in. But here's the great part is usually when you're with a great bullpen, you have really good bullpens. You got 2 lockdown guys. If you're very blessed, you got 3 lockdown guys. We got 4 lockdown guys. And even the guys that we're not even talking about, they're coming in, pounding the zone and giving breathers to everybody else. But when you have 4 guys, most of the time you need 3 guys for a lockdown bullpen, but they're coming in, pounding the zone. And really the bullpen is one of those things that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. And that's fine. Every bullpen guy will say that, hey, talk about the offense, talk about the starters. Don't worry, because at the end of the season, you're all going to want us. That's when it counts. And that's what I love about these guys right now. Robert Suarez and all those guys are not eating up the limelight, the interviews, this and that. They're just going to do their job. And before you know it, I would say if they keep doing what they're doing, in about another month, all of a sudden everybody's going to start talking about them. And I honestly guarantee this, put me on recording, that they're going to be like, I'm just trying to help the team. Like we're just trying to help each other out. Where, if somebody gets on, I want to pick him up, and if he doesn't have it, I want to pick him up. I want to make sure his ERA doesn't go up, and I'll help him out. I'd rather give up a run than him. They're going to be very selfless down there. And it's just exciting to see, because San Diego's always had good bullpens. But this is what's really exciting for me to see is we have such a good bullpen early, and everybody in the bullpen, I feel like, some guys aren't totally where they exactly want to be, but we're having a really good bullpen. It's not like previous years where we got a few guys and, hey, where do we have to go get a guy, lock down the 7th inning or the 6th inning, bridge that gap. And this year we kind of have it with the guys that we have. So I'm really happy to see that. And everybody, we lost some guys this offseason to the bullpen, but this bullpen is just locked down. And I'd like to see them. I'm going to start giving them all nicknames, if they keep doing it for 4 more weeks. So maybe this weekend, they're going to go to Houston. I'm actually going to be there to those games. So maybe I'll give them some nicknames in the stands or whatnot, but you never know. Next week we'll talk about that, but it's really exciting for an old bullpen guy. I'm pretty sure Trevor Hoffman's the same way, that we have a sense of pride when the San Diego bullpen, does really well, because we feel like we're there in spirit. We're just not throwing, arms are a little sore now, but yeah, we're just, we're there in spirit, boys. We're helping you out. When you're tired, just think of us and we'll help you out.
If you go back and look through Padres history, there is a rich history of closers, from Raleigh Fingers and Goose Gossage. Mark Davis won the Cy Young Award in 1989 as a closer. A lot of people forget about, of course, Trevor Hoffman, arguably the greatest closer of all time. Yourself, 3-time All-Star, one of the best closers of your era. And we're seeing Robert Suarez in particular perform at a level that is every bit as good as the best closers in baseball at their peaks. Robert Suarez has yet to allow a run this year in 9 appearances. He's allowed only 2 hits, 10 strikeouts. He's 8 for 8, he's 8 for 8, in save opportunities. He has been absolutely lights out. Dave Roberts made the comment last year that when Robert Suarez comes in the game, he's like, I don't like when he comes in the game, because he knows the game is pretty much over when that happens. And that was last year. This year, Suarez is having his best start yet to his career, which has been really exceptional since he came over from Japan. When you, having been a superstar closer yourself, when you watch other closers, what is it that makes you say, wow?
Well, right now with Robert Suarez, he's throwing all of his pitches. Last year, he got into a funk of just throwing fastballs and he wasn't throwing his off-speed pitches. And you could see he wasn't confident doing it. When pitchers are throwing all their pitches, it could be 2 pitchers or it could be 3 pitches. When they're throwing them with confidence, and it's kind of hard to describe how because you could throw a pitch with confidence and it'd be a ball, but you almost feel like, well, that's where I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be a ball, and then I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And you have no fear, and it's that confidence. And I'm trying to articulate it. I don't know how, but when you watch a pitcher, especially a closer, and he's throwing his pitches and he's not worried, there's no even if he gives up 2 singles in a row, he just has that confidence about him. Not that it's not ignorance. It's just that confidence that, I got this. Don't worry about it. I'm going to make my pitch. I'm going to get out. We're going to win this game. No problem whatsoever. That's when you're like, dude, that's a dominant pitcher right there. And most closers have it from time to time. It's really exciting. Like Robert Suarez right now, a little bit of last year, and right now has it for pretty much the majority of the season or months going into it. It's where, if you look at Robert Suarez, the last month of the season last year, September, maybe August, you could see a little fear, didn't want to throw the changeup every time he threw it, even if it was he'd bounce it, or even if he threw it for a strike, it was almost like, don't hit it too far, or, don't swing at this. Where now he's just throwing. He's going to get convicted every single pitch. And it's really, so when he comes in the game, you could see after him throwing a pitch, I mean, he's only given up 2 hits, but the 2 hits that he's given up, you're like, that's all right. It's not a big deal, because he has that confidence. So when you have that, I mean, that is Trevor Hoffman is that Trevor did it for, 40 years, was closing games out. I mean, that's the only way you get to 600 or more plus. But the thing is, there was never a cheek in his armor. You never saw any fear whatsoever. And I'm pretty sure I showed some fear there. There's probably a stint that I didn't, but every closer has had that. But I think Trevor Hoffman and Mo Rivera, the only 2 guys, maybe Billy Wagner a little bit, that never had any fear whatsoever. Even if the games they lost, it was just, they were so confident. And it was almost like, you lost? What? Especially, Trevor Hoffman, it was like, coming him, playing with him for 2 years, it was, I think, I don't even really honestly remember losing a game. I remember one game that he lost. It was in Colorado, but that 162, 160, game
163. Yeah, but no.
Besides that, dude, he never lost a game ever.
Yeah, but I do have to issue one slight correction. Robert Suarez has given up 3 hits this year, not 2. So 9 innings, 3 hits, no runs. He's been exceptional. And you make a good point about his off-speed usage. Last year, he threw his fastball 70% of the time. His changeup was only about 13% of the time. This year, fastball he's throwing at 50% of the time. His changeup usage has increased to 32% of the time. So he's actually backed down his fastball usage by about 20% and replaced it by upping his changeup usage about 20%.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's Trevor Hoffman talking to him in spring training or the offseason. The best pitch in baseball is the changeup. It's sexy to see that fastball go 100 miles an hour, but if you could throw 92 and then have a changeup at 80, oh my gosh, hitters will hate you. Robert Suarez has a good changeup. He just, for some reason, stopped throwing it and lost that confidence. So, Robert, just keep throwing it, man. Keep throwing it. It's really good. It's one of the best ones out there.
No doubt. He has certainly been locked down. The fastball changeup combination is deadly. And as a result, the Padres are in great shape. That bullpen is locking down the end of games. They're holding the line in the middle of games. And the Padres offense is continuing to put pressure on opponents, constantly putting the ball in play, going first to third, stealing bases, aggressive reads in the dirt. anything and everything that puts the pressure on opposing pitchers like you talked about. As a result, they're 15-4 heading into a road trip starting against the Astros on Friday. Should be a good series. Astros and Tigers were both playoff teams last year. Padres get to test their mettle on the road against two playoff teams. Heath, before we go, I did want to jump into your personal life a little bit. So many players talk about, when you are in your prime and you're a star and everyone wants to talk to you and you've got 40,000 fans cheering you on and you're flying first class and you're in the All-Star game, you're doing all these amazing things. Sometimes the post-playing career can be a little bit of an adjustment, and some guys struggle with it. Other guys just kind of go do their own thing. But a lot of times we see players go from being really well-known and famous to somewhat anonymous. You've experienced that a little bit. So first of all, tell us what exactly you're doing now in your post-playing career.
Well, so right now, see, there's my shirt right there. It's actually my brother's construction company / handyman company. And, the funny part is, it took me a couple years. You kind of convinced it. So I'm out here in Texas now. If I was in San Diego doing this, I think I'd probably be recognized. But out in Texas, nobody really recognizes me out here. And it's kind of fun, in the baseball world, some high schools, we talk and they'll recognize me, whatnot. But I'm actually out here working as a construction man, and I'm not like people like, well, I have a construction business and I'm managing people. No, I'm actually building fences. I'm switching out fans in people's homes. I'm helping, elderly people change light bulbs, and I'm actually an air conditioning technician. So I learned all that, and I can install generators. And the funny part is, I've met some people that, like, there's just one customer that I've been there 3 times to do stuff, like put an awning in, and then he had a water leak and a water heater, and I've fixed a few things for him. Has no idea who I am. And here's the funny part is he loves the baseball. He loves the Cubs. Ironically, they're playing the Padres. That he asked his wife to marry him, years ago. He got married at Wrigley Field. And they moved to Texas because their grandkids here in Texas, in Austin area. And we talk baseball every time I go there. It was last year, and then 2 times I went there this year. And we've talked baseball, and he has no idea that I actually played. And he's talking about, I remember Mark Grace, and I was like, yeah, he was good. I heard he was pretty nice. And Ryan Sandberg, and he's like, oh yeah, Ryan Sandberg. He managed with the Phillies. He should have been a Cub, this and that. And I was like, yeah. Do you think it was like? I don't know if he was, I'm like, I heard he was a nice guy. These are all guys I've met. And it was just, we're just talking over and over, or like Derek Lee and, basically every Cub fan, or even when they won the World Series, or like Rizzo. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, Rizzo didn't really do much in San Diego, but then he got traded and did great. And I was like, yeah, I heard he was a pretty good guy. And I just, play along. And the funny part is, I think next time he calls and, say there's something wrong that I got to fix. The wind's been blowing out here, so maybe the wind will blow his fence, because that's what I'm actually doing tomorrow before I go to the Houston game. I'm building a fence. But, maybe I'll bring him a baseball card of me signed and just go, hey, just, thanks for the work, this and that, give me a review. It'd be great. And then hand him a baseball card at the very end. So it's ironic. I was just talking to my wife about this, how usually you're like, like that one Padre player that pitched for Texas, the first rounder. What's his name? Drawing a blank right now. That didn't do well.
Oh, Matt Bush.
Matt Bush, and then he was at a fast food restaurant, and then came up to be a Major League Baseball player. I'm like, it's funny how I became a star, somewhat famous, and now I'm doing general stuff. But I kind of needed a purpose. I did have. I was coaching my kid for travel ball and, helping out the high school for a while. And then, he went off and did his thing, and, I was kind of letting him be his own man. And I kind of, my wife and I were talking, and my brother kind of convinced me, but I needed a purpose. I needed something to do. So at first I was like, I'm not sure if I know how to do this, but my brother's 15 years older than I am. And he's been in the industry his whole life since he was 16. My dad was a mechanic. So I kind of have that mindset, and I worked with my brother years ago when I was in high school, early in college, for summer or whatnot. So I have that mindset, and I figure things out pretty quickly. And I just kind of ran with it and just kind of did it. And honestly, 2 years ago, or let's just take before the pandemic, when I retired, was kind of bored, didn't know what to do. Yeah, I did a little travel ball here or helped some kids out here. And, I still do that today. There's some coaches that ask me to work with some pitchers, and I do when I have some time on weekends or weeknights. But I've been doing this for about 2 years now. In the last 2 years, I have a lot of fun. I'm meeting a lot of new people. I'm helping a lot of people out. I live near a retirement, like a 55 and older community. And they can't get on steps. They can't get on the steps tool to change out a light. And I'm going to help them here and that, or fixing, garbage disposals or this and that. And, sometimes I'm like, people are really paying me to do this. It's not that hard to switch out a toilet. But hey, you know what? It's kind of fun. It's exciting. And the thing is, I've been training some other employees how to do certain things. And it's funny because some of the employees don't know the first couple months, who I was beforehand. I'm just like the owner's, a kid brother. So, it's kind of funny. They all think, aren't you a manager or something? I'm like, no, I'm just working. It's me and my brother's still the boss, but, I'm still working. I like working, and then they find out what I'm doing. They're like, how much money did you make or this and that? And I go, oh, I still got the majority of it, but I like doing this. And they're just like, they're almost thinking like, okay, you're a millionaire. And I don't say I'm like rich. Well, I say I'm rich because I, my kids and my family and all that stuff. But yeah, I have $1 million and I'm working, I'm grinding. I wake up at 6 o'clock. I take the dogs out at 6:30. I go to work. I know everybody at Home Depot. And because I pick up material in the morning and then I go to work and I don't come back until 4 or 5. And it's just, it's fun. It really is. So
I just love the idea that someone calls and a 3-time all-star closer who was a pretty big deal in his prime is the guy changing out his light bulb or installing his toilet. And
or like Tuesday until 10 o'clock, it was a water heater that was leaking. They called me up. I showed up at 5 o'clock. They were like, I need a water heater. It was leaking. Okay, I'll be there.
I mean, just the image of that to me is hysterical, but also a testament to you for continuing to do, blue collar work. But then I just love the guy who claims to be a big baseball fan, loves the game, and has absolutely no idea. I mean, again, there are a lot of guys out there who got to the majors for a day or got to the majors for, a cup of coffee. And it's understandable if someone doesn't know who they are. But you're in the big leagues for a decade as a face of a franchise kind of player who played for multiple teams. It's not like you were just, a guy. So I just love this idea that there's this guy out there who loves baseball, wants to talk baseball, knows baseball, and is completely oblivious that the guy who just replaced his water heater was a 3-time All-Star.
Well, I'm in my, my red shirt, my work pants, and I show up and, I think if I slid into his garage or something that he would know who I am. But, it's funny. I feel like I told myself in about a month or two this summer, if he doesn't give a call, I'm just going to knock on his door and show up and just, talk to him. Cause he's
you need to film that. You need to film that revelation moment.
I'll have somebody with me. I'll have like Jonathan, one of the employees that maybe he'll just be behind me and film me. And I'll just do that. And I'll throw that on the internet somewhere. So I'll show it to you guys or something. But
oh yeah, no, we're absolutely going to play that here on Friar.
But really quick story. So I actually opening day went to Houston. They were playing the Mets, my other team, and he was texting me during that series because he goes, "Oh, you're going to the Houston game? You like Houston?" I was like, "No, my kid. I just played it off. My kid really likes New York, this and that." And oh, okay, whatever. And then he was like, he literally was texting me the series. Hey, they're not hitting the ball. They better. Soto. They paid, what do you say? Like they gave Soto too much money because the first game Houston won. The next game, the Mets won. And I texted him back on the next day. I was like, no, they got him now. So it was funny. It's just kind of funny. I just want to go. And my son was like, he literally has no idea. And I go, nope. No. So, but him and his wife are great people. They're and yeah. So one day I'm gonna meet up with him this summer. Before, probably the next month or two, if he hasn't called. I mean, hopefully he doesn't have to call, so nothing's wrong with his house. But you got to upkeep your house. That's one thing people always learn. As soon as they build a house or they move in, they're like, man, there's also a lot of upkeep. And I'm like, yep, you can learn how to do it, or you can pay me to do it. So
definitely. Well, again, when that moment comes and you do the grand reveal of who you are, please film it. That is going to be priceless, and we all look forward to seeing that. Heath, any final thoughts here as we wrap up? The Padres head into Houston. You'll like I said, you'll be there watching them in person.
I'm going to be screaming and yelling at you boys. Keep the ball down, because Houston, the ball will leave the yard real easy. But if you keep the ball down, it's like Philly. If you keep the ball down, you're going to be fine. Plus the Astros, Altuve's hitting the ball, but hit the ball to him. He's not that good of an outfielder. And everybody else is kind of struggling hitting. So just make your pitches. It's going to be exciting. I think I'm not going to say they're going to sweep Houston, but I think they can win the series easily. It's going to be really exciting to watch the one in Detroit, because Detroit's a scrappy baseball team. There's not really one guy that's like the star. I mean, they do have some good starting pitching, but they're just a good team. So that'll be fun to watch. And anyway, I don't know. We'll see. The fun part is, if you're going to Houston right now to watch this series, any Padre fan, look out for me, because I will be wearing my jersey that says Bell. So look out for me. I'll have my Padres Bell jersey on, and my kid might have my other jersey on, but we'll see.
Absolutely. Look for the guy who's yelling at the pitchers, telling them what to do from the stands, wearing a Heath Bell jersey. That will actually be Heath Bell, not just some dude who pretended he played, but someone who actually played. So that would be me. All right. That'll do it for another episode of Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. Go ahead and give us a review, like, subscribe, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, whatever platform you're watching and listening on. We would love to hear from you. For Heath Bell, I'm Kyle Glaser. Thanks for watching and listening. See you next week.